My pleasure to welcome on Bob Potter, the chairman of the Southeastern Connecticut chapter of SCORE, which stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives. Welcome. Tell me what SCORE does for small business in the state of Connecticut and really across the country, but we're with Connecticut, so let's talk about small business here.
Well, first, thanks for having me on your show.
You betcha.
And what SCORE does is offer free small business consulting to anyone who asks for it.
And as I said to you, free. Really? Free?
Free. It's free. We're all volunteers in Southeast Connecticut in our chapter, and we have 7 chapters across the state of Connecticut. There's over 320 SCORE chapters across America. We have over 11,000 volunteers. We really are a tremendous resource, yet at times I think we're one of the best kept secrets.
Why is that? Why is it not? Because when somebody says, I'm going to start a small business, I can go to these retired executives and some not retired.
Some are not retired.
Still in the workforce who can help me build a small business. Why don't people know that?
You know, they need more shows like yours.
Well, good. So here's a start. So if I call up Bob Potter at his chapter, you can get me to about 40 folks in your chapter. 13,000 or so across the country?
That's right. Well, let me tell you how it works. It's really so simple. And when I explain to people how simple it is and how helpful it is, they go, well, I think I want to get in touch with SCORE. You just go online. You go to our website, www.SECT, that stands for Southeast Connecticut, .score.org. Simple as that. And you'll click on a little button to arrange a meeting with us. We'll get some information about you, what your needs are, and very importantly, well, where do you live in Southeast Connecticut? We have mentoring locations down in Guilford and Madison and Old Saybrook. Then we're up in Middletown. We're all the way up in Norwich, back down in Waterford. So we find a location that is convenient for you, a time that's convenient for you, schedule an appointment, and just like we're sitting here today, sit across the table from you and listen to your ideas, your problems, where you need some help. We're just your free business consultants.
This is unbelievable. All right, so let's say I am going to open up a restaurant, or I'm an entrepreneur and I've got an idea for a business. I'm going to sit across the table from a guy like you, Bob Potter. Who are you? What'd you do in your life?
Oh, well, I've had, like all of our volunteers in our chapter, really interesting business backgrounds. I started out the first half of my career with big media companies you might have heard of, Time Warner, AOL.
A small company, yes.
National Geographic. I was in marketing and communications. And then the last 10 years, I've been working in the culture, art, and nonprofit sector, working for the National Gallery of Art in Washington, coming up here to Connecticut to work for Mystic Seaport. I even did a 6-month project with Save the Children. So nonprofit, marketing, communications, those are some of the areas that I have a lot of background and expertise in.
And you're just one guy. Just that resume alone that you just gave me is powerful. I can sit across from you and you can impart to me information about all these different jobs that you did, what worked, what didn't work. What do you see in small business in Connecticut today? There's a bunch of us out there with small businesses, and I know you have some stats on how many folks are trying to slug it out with small business. What are some of those facts in our state?
You know, it's interesting. The most current federal data on Connecticut, there's over 320,000 small businesses in Connecticut, and of those small businesses, a third, nearly 95,000, employ multiple people. In the U.S., just to give a sense of how important small business is to our economy, to Main Street, to our communities, there's 23 million small businesses in the United States, and they provide over 50% of the jobs in the U.S. So small business really is the engine that drives so many important social, economic, community goals and results. So being part of that, and SCORE isn't new to this. We're a 50-year-old organization. We started in 1964, just celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. We're a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA.
Tell me what small business folks starting out, what are their mistakes? When they come to you, what mistakes are they making in this climate in which we now find ourselves post-2008?
Sure. Well, it's interesting, and it's a good question because we kind of approach it from first listening. In fact, all of our volunteers really have to take the SCORE mentoring methodology course before they can even sit across the table and talk to someone. And one of the real key tenets of this is suspend judgment. I won't tell you that's a good idea or a bad idea, and to listen. And I think that's really one of the most powerful tools we offer in that first meeting, that first session. We're mentors, and you've come in with an idea that you're passionate about. This is something that you really want to do. My job is to learn as much about you. Why do you want to do this? What do you think you need to do next? Because what we really want to do, like a good coach, a good mentor, a good guide, is really find out, well, where do you want to go and how can we help you get there?
You don't have enough women in your chapter. And I said to you before we started the show, we're going to recruit some women for your particular chapter because you have some interesting facts about women. Women are starting small business in huge numbers. So if they can mentor with men and women, that's a good thing, right?
Oh, we think so. Nearly 60% in our chapter alone, and over 50% across the whole spectrum of SCORE nationwide. 50% of the people that come to see us about starting up a small business or running a small business are women. And women make up, such a huge part of the work population. So women as mentors, as guides within SCORE are really important. And we're not just retired people, working people. So Ann, you could be a counselor at SCORE. You could be a mentor.
Well, watch out because it just might happen. Tell me about why you think that advisors are coming together all over the state of Connecticut and all over the country to help other folks. Is it because you miss business a little bit for those of you who are retired? Are you curious about how business is now being started across the country? What is it that jazzes men and women in SCORE to come together to help others?
I think it's all those reasons. I do think that people who have been very active in their business careers, and if they're not working full-time now, SCORE kind of provides a way to kind of keep your hand in without having to work 9 to 5. But I think also, and I think if you talk to any of our volunteers, they would all agree, well, we've all benefited so much from our working lives. So if we can kind of give back, if we can share that. But I think we're also fascinated with the variety of small businesses that people come in and talk to us about. In a way, it's kind of a privilege.
Like what? What are they coming to you with?
Just where in Southeast Connecticut, and by the way, when they mentor, they're just not stuck with me.
So they get some other.
We have a team.
Well, you sound pretty good, Bob.
We have a team in each of these mentoring locations in Southeast Connecticut. In fact, it's nice to have a team. It's nice to have a couple of people there. But to give you a range of people that I've met, and they've talked with me about their business goals, everything from starting up a wellness center, creating classroom security products, high-tech and very high-tech, high-security online products, restaurant. Someone is here in Connecticut just getting ready to open up a craft beer brewery.
There's a lot of them in this state, and I love that.
And I'm so looking forward to
tasting,
being there
to being
and being part of the tasting committee.
You wrote something, and I want to quote you. My goal is to make sure that we are not always looking in the mirror, but we are looking out the window. What does that mean?
Well, it's interesting. I think that when people come in with their ideas of starting up a business or if they're in business, and we really like working with both. Sometimes you're so invested, you're so engaged, you know your business very well. That's the looking in the mirror part. But to really step back and start to understand some other dynamics, some other issues, some other areas that you really need to have a handle on, you're going to need to look out the window. You're going to need to reach out and talk to some people, build an advisory team around you, look in the toolbox. Either you're starting up, there's some tools we can talk about that we recommend. But then if you're in business, some of those tools change. And so I think it's that kind of openness. And I think, you can tell very quickly when people come in, once we learn about their businesses and we start the dialogue, well, tell me, what's keeping you awake at night? What are you worrying about when you go in the office? Talk to us, because you may not have a group around you at your business that you can do that with.
Right.
You may not have the luxury of stepping back and doing it. This is an opportunity to really talk to us and say, here's what I'm worried about. What would you advise?
Is it good, smart to take risks when you start something new? Is it just part of the package when you build a small business?
I think it's how you approach it. And that's really when we sit with new clients. If you were a new client that just came in and said, Bob, I want to start up this. And
you got to have your elevator speech down.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Otherwise, you should go out the door and come back.
That's actually one of the things that we coach people on. Well, great, talk to us about it. Now you're going to be talking to a lot of other people. Let's work on the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch being, if you got on the ground floor with the CEO of the company, by the time you both got off on the 5th floor, he'd know about you, your business, and what it is you do well.
And that's not a lot of time, so you better have it down.
But we also work with people, kind of approach it with the first things first. What are the first things you really want to do? One of the key things is create a business plan. You've got to have a business plan, and sometimes people are a little
And if you
scared.
don't have a business mind, you got to get a partner who has one?
Well, it's very important. I think the partnering is so key. One of the things we suggest is build a little advisory team around you. There was a person who had a really great business idea, but said, gee, I'm not really good with the numbers, and the numbers count. The numbers are important. Well, who do you know that might be able to help you with the numbers side of your business? Well, my son is a business major at college. Okay, there's your chief financial officer. Get him involved.
And cheap, too.
And cheap, right price. And get him involved. It'll be a great learning experience for him about a real business startup project, but at the same time, reach out to some other people that have the skills that you don't have, because in running any successful operation, you've got to surround yourself with some people that don't have the skills that you have that are going to help make it a success.
Bob Potter, thanks so much for coming on, giving us all this free advice. And if somebody starting a business doesn't call SCORE, it's ridiculous.
Well, please do. And also, we are recruiting people all the time. People who share that kind of idea of, gosh, how can I help some other people start up businesses, small businesses? I know how important it is to our economy. SCORE last year alone donated more than 1 million service hours of volunteer time to over 450,000 clients, and that helped start nearly 39,000 businesses, and it created 67,000 jobs. That was last year.
And therein lies part of the secret to pushing America ahead.
Oh, I think so. And we can do it right here in our communities. There's 7 SCORE chapters in Connecticut alone. So just go online. You can go to www.score.org, our national website. Click on, I'd like to find a SCORE chapter near me, get some free business advice. And by the way, there is so much free, good, solid, fundamental business advice online at score.org. Plus, in addition to giving this free one-on-one counseling, we offer free workshops year-round. We're going to offer 35 workshops this year on how to write a business plan, how to use social media, how to use QuickBooks for accounting, how to get a loan from a loan officer. So these are free workshops. So there's really, in a way, no barriers at all for someone who said, gee, I'd like to get some advice on how to start a small business. We're there. That's what we do. Our shingle is out monthly, 24/7. But the thing is, if I seem enthusiastic about it, I am, because it's fun. And I can guarantee the folks that I work with in our chapter, their enjoyment is they just enjoy meeting people. And in a way, it really is kind of a privilege that someone's saying, could you help me? And I think most of us know if someone says, you can help, can you help me? And we think we can, that's kind of the reward by itself.
And someone's answering the call. Bob, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too, Ann. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Made a trivial pursuits when one they sent. who's this girl? Spend all night kissing, and if Walter's right here, then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked if I'm so wishing I could find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Need to keep locked in the grocery store, but mine just to save time. Skip right ahead to the last ride. The harder we look, the less we can see.